Welcome to TV47 Wildlife.
So my name is Warden in charge, Nairobi Safari Walk and Nairobi Animal Orphanage. So as the warden in charge, my job basically is to oversee the operations of the two facilities, that's the orphanage and the safari walk, where we host animals in captivity. So when we say we host animals in captivity, this is what differentiates us from the national parks that people are used to. Because in the national parks, wild animals are freely roaming. Here, for one reason or another, they are put in enclosures. And the reason why we have the animals in captivity or enclosures within the Nairobi Animal Orphanage is that this is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally. So our job here is to ensure that we provide those animals with a home, alternative from being out there in the wild. The Animal Orphanage started its operations back in 1963. So before then, you'll find that wardens in the field will find maybe an injured animal and they will keep it within the compound, probably even within the compound of the warden. So over time it was realized that these animals, one, they need to be put in a proper place, and they also needed to be close to a veterinary doctor. So that's why the orphanage was established. It's been in operation since then. And over the years, we've had a number of animals being brought here. We've had nearly all kinds of species of animals that you find in Kenya. Currently, between the Safari Walk and the Animal Orphanage, we are hosting over 100 individuals, about 35 different species. It has been one of the main attractions in the country. It's actually at the Nairobi Animal Orphanage that most Kenyans have their first interaction with wildlife. You find that for most people, especially in school programs run by WCK, the first time that they interact with the wildlife is actually at the Nairobi Animal Orphanage. So over the years, we've received thousands, probably millions since 1963, millions of people coming over. We do discourage people getting close to the animals for obvious reasons. These are wild animals. Secondly, also issues of disease transmission. We have zoonotic diseases that can be transmitted from man to the animal and vice versa. However, we do have occasions where people can get close to these animals. We have, the less aggressive herbivores, like the duikers, those ones you can get close to them. Sometimes also the animal might be needing veterinary attention. And also during animal adoption programs, we do allow that brief interaction with the person who is adopting the animal. Very brief and under supervision. The idea behind the animal adoption program is to encourage both Kenyan citizens and even people from outside of the country to actually have their input in terms of how these animals are taken care of. Because if this animal is within a captive facility, it means probably because it came here injured, came here very young, so it requires medicine, it requires food, it requires a good housing and round-the-clock care. So the animal adoption program actually allows you as a Kenyan or somebody from outside of the country to actually have your input in ensuring that this animal's welfare is well taken care of. When you are in the adoption program or when you adopt an animal within our facility, it doesn't mean that you take it home, because one, it's not a domestic animal. However, the amount that you contribute to the adoption program, from as little as 1,000 Kenya shillings, that's around 10 USD. So from as little as 1,000 Kenya shillings, you adopt an animal of your choice, then that money will be channeled towards the welfare of that animal. We also have instances where somebody wants to adopt an animal and probably even name it. So that one, of course, the figure goes a bit higher. But we don't allow, the animal to be taken from here to be held in captivity in maybe someone's homestead. The animals will be taken care of where they are still here within the Nairobi Animal Orphanage. So you are most welcome. TV47 will take a tour of the facility The facility is not big. Probably if you go around less than a kilometer of walking distance. That's why it's a favorite for school children, especially the very young, who one, they might not have the energy, to walk in a very large area. And secondly, kids lose interest very fast. So if they are here, they're able to move from one enclosure to another. They're able to spot the animals that interest them within a very short time. Of course, this facility, apart from being a home to these rescued animals, the orphaned animals, it's also an educational facility. You'll find that kids, what they learn in school, they're able to actually come and see in real life. Children will be given the description of a lion, a buffalo in school, but right here at the animal orphanage, they're actually able to see it in real life. Here we have Charlotte. Charlotte is a watho. Charlotte came here in the year 2015. She had been found by one of our staff just outside the safari. It had rained the previous night, so when our staff saw it, she was still very young. They waited for the whole day. The mother never came back. So we realized that for one reason or another, the mom is not going to come back. So she was brought here. She's been hand-reared. Now she's been here for 7 years now, and she remains, one of our key attractions in the facility. Of course, the reason why warthogs remain an attraction because, of the morphology. That's the shape of the body, the size, the tusks, and people believe that they have very short memories. So when children are here, they are always told, memory kama ya ngiri. Of course, some of it is because of what we call folklore and mythology. Most communities tend to associate an animal with a certain story. Yeah. So for the warthog, unfortunately, the story it has been associated with is that of having a short memory. But for us, it remains, a species that needs to be conserved, and that's why it's here. These are the crested crane. They've been here for about 20 years now. They're quite old. You can't be able to tell from how they look. They've been here for about 20 years. They were also rescued. They came here with the issues of being babies, orphaned. Yeah. They've been here for the past 20 years. Also remain a key attraction because out there in the wild, because of human activity, we are slowly destroying the environment that these animals are supposed to thrive in. We are destroying wetlands, we are destroying forest canopies, which means that some of these birds, they are no longer able to breed as they were breeding before. Yeah. They are not able to have their nests when they are on migration, because we also have birds that migrate from Europe to Africa. If along the way where they are supposed to have food, nest and so on, if that habitat is destroyed, then we end up losing that species. We do have lions here. We actually have about 15 in number, and they all have a story. As I said before, for the animal orphanage, we don't go out there in the wild to capture an animal to bring it here. There must have been a reason as to why that animal is here. And unfortunately, we are realizing that some of the animals that are most affected out there by human activity are lions. So because of that interaction with man, either a lioness has gone to hunt, probably come across people's livestock, it has killed someone's cow, the community retaliates, spearing, poisoning, and so on. So over time we realize probably the lioness had left some cubs somewhere. And that's where we step in. The same community that might have killed the lioness turns out to be the same community that will inform Kenya Wildlife Service that actually there are some cubs somewhere. So the cubs are brought here they are first taken to the nursery, the animal nursery, where they are hand reared on a special diet, milk, meat. Then they are weaned off slowly from the milk. Then once we realize that they are strong enough to hold on their own, they are now brought here as, you know, as an attraction. The lifespan in a lion, we can look at it in two ways, in the wild and in captivity. In the wild, most of these cats, they rarely go beyond 20 years because out there, you know, it's survival for the fittest. A lion in the wild, it comes across so many challenges, and you know, as it gets older, its ability to hunt also goes down, which means that over time, it's not able even to catch its own food. But in captivity, we see them doing over 20 years comfortably.
We'll be back right after this break.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
For the biggest of guests, from politicians to entertainers to content creators to whichever kind of a person you want to think that you'd want to see on the show, this is the place to be. Dr. Feneke tonight.
Each and every Wednesday. My name is DJ Lizney, not your ordinary DJ.
And of course, they call me the eagle himself. Your host, Dr. Feneke, is my name. Of course, every Wednesday at 7:30. See you there and don't touch.
Make sure to join us.
Tell your landlord as well. Jua unalipia wa parent.
Sikose.
Primary hypertension, which means that we don't find a reason for that.
Join me, Dr. Chepsi, every Thursday, 8 p.m.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back.
We have a hyena here, the spotted hyena, one of the 4 hyenas that we have in the wild, because we have this, the spotted hyena, we have the striped hyena found in Kenya, then we have the brown hyena found in Southern Africa, and the adwolf. All of them they fall in the same family. The hyena is a carnivore. People, when they see the hyena, the first time that visitors get here and they see the hyena, they already have a perception about a hyena, because you find that it has been subject to a lot of folklore and mythology in Africa and in Asia, probably because of the morphology or the body structure and the behavior of the hyena. So you find that in most communities, it's either associated with cowardice, greed, frightful behavior, and so on. But that does not actually give justice to this animal. It's a carnivore. the behavior it has is expected of a carnivore. The spotted hyena here can stand its ground, even against a lion, especially when it's defending its den or it's defending food that it has hunted. We often assume that it just waits to scavenge, on carrion or animals that have been killed by other animals. But research has actually indicated that the spotted hyena is a very good hunter also. It has a unique body structure, as you can see. The forelegs are longer than the hind legs, massively built at the chest, very thick neck. It has some of the most powerful jaws of an animal out there in the wild. And the teeth are in such a way that they're actually shearing. So they bite, they take meat, they bite and huge chunks of meat plus bone, because the ability to crush bone is very high. And it's that consumption of calcium that actually makes the droppings of a hyena to be white in color, because of the high calcium content that they ingest when they are feeding out there in the wild. The spotted hyena is unique in that the females get to be bigger than the males. For most animal species, the males will always be bigger. But for the spotted hyena, the females actually grow larger than the males. They are very widespread. You find them, covering much of Eastern Africa, Northern Africa. That's why nearly all cultures in Africa, they have a story about the hyena. So for the 4 species, the main difference, first you look at the morphology. That's the physical attributes that you can see. For the spotted hyena, it's easy to know because it has the spots. For the striped hyena, it has the stripes, and it's also smaller compared to the spotted hyena. Then we have the aardwolf, which is also actually a hyena. More often than not, people confuse the aardwolf with the striped hyena because the markings are relatively similar, but we have those small differences amongst them that will help you to differentiate. One is the behavior, secondly is how they raise their young ones, and so on. Then we have the brown hyena, named the brown hyena because it has a brown coat and it's found in the southern parts of Africa. Hyenas are in the cat family, but there are certain behaviors that they have which actually are behaviors exhibited by dogs or animals in the dog family. For example, the way they hunt, the way they bring down an animal, because cats go for the neck of an animal. They actually suffocate an animal. But dogs, they just, bite an animal until, they bring it down. So it makes a lot of people assume that hyenas belong to the dog family, but actually they are in the cat family. We have 2 females here. They came in from Taveta. They were rescued there when they were very young, about 6 years ago. The difference between the striped hyena and the spotted hyena, just when you look at it, is the coloration of the skin. This one has stripes. Then it's relatively smaller compared to the spotted hyena. Then one unique behavior trait about the striped hyena is that when it's under attack, probably from a lion, it feigns death. It pretends to be dead. It's a very unique characteristic of the striped hyena. They're also very good scavengers. They are not expert hunters like the spotted hyena because of size, but they're very good scavengers. So here we have Talek the leopard. Talek has been with us since the year 2006. So he's actually one of the oldest animals that we have in our facility. Talek came here when he was about just 2 weeks old, found in the Mara. He had fallen in a hole and the mother had abandoned him, of course, because there is no way the mom could have been able to rescue him from the hole. So he was brought here. He was hand-reared by our team, and now he's a fully grown male. He's about 16 years old. So we know in captivity, Talek still has a few more years to go. If it was out there in the wild with a life expectancy of below 20 years, chances are very high Talek will be normal. Of course, that's natural. Here in the wild, we know that Talek still has a few more years to go. So actually, for people who are here as young kids, when they come back, they are still surprised to find, Talek is still very much with us. Interesting fact about leopards is that one, they are solitary, which means that you'll never find a pack of leopards. You don't expect when you're in a game drive, you suddenly come across, 5 leopards hunting together. They are very solitary. They're also nocturnal, which means that they'll be coming out to hunt very late in the evening and during the night. During the night, they are very active. A leopard is one of the best hunters in terms of using camouflage and using stealth. The main difference you'll note between a leopard and a cheetah when it comes to hunting is that a cheetah will run down its prey, and cheetahs will often hunt in pairs, probably a mother with cubs and so on. A leopard will not run down its prey. It will spend time to actually stalk the animal, then it just pounces at the right moment, and more often than not from a tree. One of the other attractions that we have here is a herbivore, one of the largest herbivores. That's a buffalo, the African buffalo to be specific, because when you're talking about buffaloes and you have a school group, especially kids, and they're exposed to documentaries and so on, some might actually ask you, why is this buffalo wild and we've seen tame ones on television? We realize that more often than not, probably they are, mistaking the Asian one from the African buffalo. This buffalo is very wild, the African one. It's a very wild animal. Actually, out there in the wild, it's one of the most dangerous animals that you can come across. It's a herbivore, yes, but it's one of the most dangerous animals out there in the wild. So we have it as one of our attractions here. It grows to be very big, dark in color, gives birth to just one calf. And out there in the wild, you find them moving in herds. Herds can be up to 300. We've seen in our national parks herds of up to 300 buffalo. However, there are occasions where you find a buffalo probably single or moving in twos. More often than not, those are buffaloes that have been kicked away from the main herd. And those ones are usually the most dangerous that you can come across. However, for the one that we have here, you are very safe because it's within an enclosure. We'll take care of it probably until, it dies of old age, because the animals that we have here, because of hand rearing them, it's very difficult to release them successfully back into the wild. It's used to man, which means that if you release it back into the wild, it will tend to gravitate or move towards, human beings. More so for the cats. You can imagine you've hand reared a lion here for the past 10 years. You release it back into the wild, what's going to happen? It's going close to human beings. And because those humans will not know that this animal was actually hand-reared and it's coming here to be, to look for food, you'll end up exposing that animal to the same issue that you initially actually wanted to take it away from. The issue of dying because of human-wildlife conflict. It's not a calf, but you can say it's a sub-adult. It is yet to grow to its full size. At full size, it will weigh over 300 kgs. They can get very big, very muscular, and it has a very unique horn structure, very different from that of a cow. Because when you look at the way the horns grow, they actually occupy the upper part of the forehead. It's called a boss. Very huge, very thick. That enables it to actually, fight it out there in the wild. It's able to defend itself from lion attacks, hyena attacks. You find that when it has a calf, it can easily defend the calf from a lion that is attacking alone. So even for lions, they appreciate that it's not so easy to bring down a buffalo. The males are usually bigger. The horns are, massive. They are massive. They curl inwards as it gets older, to the point that actually they can, form a kind of a circle. When you tell man about challenges, they only see challenges that affect them. Rarely do they see challenges that affect wildlife. And a wild animal, unlike man, it doesn't have a voice. It can't speak. It can't take this water and tell you this water tastes funny. The only thing will happen is that it takes the water, it gets sick. It's not able to tell you that my habitat is being destroyed. The only thing that is going to happen is that you won't be able to see that bird anymore. But man can be able to talk. And that's why we are here, so that we can give a voice to these animals. This is the last attraction we have here. And I'll use this to actually explain what is happening out there to our wildlife. These beautiful animals that we have here, they're not supposed to be here, but something happened that made them to be brought here. The cubs, they came in as cubs last year around September from Mandera. The reason being they were found orphaned out there in the wild. Why? Because one, we have destroyed the natural habitat, and secondly, because of issues of climate change. So we find that out there, we are losing these populations in a big way, because like a cheetah, it needs a very wide range to live in. It's an animal that requires a wide range to live in. The way it hunts for food, unlike a leopard, which is a stealth hunter, this one has to run down its prey, which means that it needs an open area. And of course, it needs the prey to be there, meaning that you need the impala there, you need the gazelles there. Now, because of what is happening in terms of climate change, some of these areas, they didn't receive adequate rainfall last year, which means that prey numbers went down, which means that competition between man for food and water versus the animals went up. So we are seeing loss of habitat, human-wildlife conflict, increasing the number of animals, especially the cats that are being brought to the Nairobi Animal Orphanage. And for us as a conservation agency, the beauty of this wildlife is when they are out there in their natural habitat. So I'd like to call upon Kenyans. Let us all play our role in conserving this wildlife. We say we are conserving it for future generations, but I always say, the future is you and I. If we keep postponing the idea of conservation to a future generation, we talk of a future generation, and the future is already here. It's up to us to ensure that the habitat for this animal is secure, that this animal is secure, that we have the resources, we have the goodwill from Kenyans to ensure that in future, and because we are all moving into that future, this animal will still be there.
That's it for today's episode of TV47 Wildlife. Catch us again next week, same time, same place.